The blue lights hit Marcus Washington's rearview mirror at exactly 9:23 p.m. on a Tuesday, and he knew exactly what was about to happen. He'd been through this before. Too many times before. Marcus pulled his silver Mercedes S-Class to the side of the road on Riverside Drive, hands already moving to the 10 and 2 position on the steering wheel. Engine off. Dome light on, registration ready. He'd learned this routine the hard way, starting when he was 16 years old and got pulled over for driving suspiciously in his own neighborhood. But this time was different, because Marcus Washington wasn't a scared teenager anymore. He was the newly appointed chief of police for the city of Richmond, Virginia. He just moved into town 3 days ago, hadn't even had his official swearing-in ceremony yet, and he was driving home from a late dinner with the mayor who'd recruited him from Baltimore. The officer approaching his window didn't know any of this. Officer Ryan Mitchell tapped on the glass with his flashlight, shining it directly into Marcus's face. Marcus rolled down the window slowly, keeping his hands visible. "License and registration," Ryan said. No greeting, no explanation, just a command. "Officer, can I ask why I was pulled over?" Marcus asked, his voice calm and professional. "License and registration," Ryan repeated, louder this time. His hand moved closer to his weapon. Now, Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice steady. "My registration is in the glove compartment. I'm going to reach for it slowly." "Do it," Ryan said, stepping back slightly, hand now resting on his holster. Marcus retrieved the documents and handed them over. Ryan took them and examined the license with his flashlight, his expression shifting from authoritative to openly skeptical. "Marcus Washington," Ryan read aloud. "This your car?" "Yes, sir." "You got proof of that?" "Title? Insurance?" "Insurance is with the registration." Ryan studied the documents, then looked at Marcus, then back at the car. "This is a $95,000 vehicle. What do you do for a living, Marcus?" And there it was. The question that had nothing to do with traffic violations and everything to do with the color of Marcus's skin. "I'm in law enforcement," Marcus said carefully. Ryan actually laughed. "Law enforcement? Right. What are you, a security guard?" "Something like that." "Step out of the vehicle," Ryan said, his tone shifting to aggressive. "I need to search it." "On what grounds?" Marcus asked, not moving. "Reasonable suspicion. This is a high-crime area, expensive car, and you're being evasive about your employment. Step out or I'll remove you myself." Marcus felt that familiar heat rising in his chest. The anger, the frustration, the absolute exhaustion of having this same conversation over and over again. But he also knew exactly how this could go wrong, how fast things could escalate, how many people who looked like him had ended up dead during routine traffic stops. So he stepped out of the car, hands visible, movement slow and deliberate. "Turn around, hands on the vehicle," Ryan ordered. Marcus complied. He felt Ryan's hands patting him down, checking his pockets, treating him like a criminal. Behind him, Ryan's partner, a younger officer named Jake Torres, had gotten out of the cruiser and was now shining his flashlight into the Mercedes. "Vehicle's clean," Jake called out. "Nice interior though, real leather." "Check the trunk," Ryan said. "You need a warrant for that," Marcus said quietly. "I've got probable cause," Ryan shot back. "Pop the trunk or I'll do it myself." Marcus stayed silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Officer Mitchell, I'm going to reach into my jacket pocket. Moving slowly. I have something you need to see." "Hands on the vehicle," Ryan shouted, his weapon now drawn. Jake's head snapped up from where he'd been looking in the windows. "Ryan, what's happening?" "He's reaching," Ryan said, his voice tight with adrenaline. "I'm reaching for my identification," Marcus said, his voice still calm despite the gun now pointed at his back. "The identification that explains exactly who I am and why this stop is about to become a very big problem for you." "Hands where I can see them." Marcus slowly raised his hands. "My badge is in my inside jacket pocket, my police badge. Would you like me to get it, or would you prefer to get it yourself?" Ryan hesitated, his gun still drawn. "You're a cop." "Not just a cop," Marcus said. "Reach into my pocket." Left side. You'll find my credentials. Ryan holstered his weapon and roughly pulled out the leather badge holder from Marcus's jacket. He flipped it open, and even in the darkness, Marcus could see his face go pale under the streetlights. The badge read, Chief of Police, City of Richmond. Below it was Marcus's official ID photo and his credentials, signed by the mayor just 48 hours ago. "Oh God," Ryan whispered. Jake walked over. "What is it?" Then he saw the badge, and his face matched Ryan's. "Oh no! Oh no!" Marcus slowly turned around, his hands still partially raised. "Now, Officer Mitchell, let me ask you something. If I wasn't a police chief, if I was just a regular black man driving home from dinner, would this stop have been any different? Would you have treated me with respect, or would you have escalated it exactly the same way?" Ryan's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. "Because here's what I think happened," Marcus continued, his voice still calm but carrying an edge now. "You saw an expensive car with a black man driving it, and you made assumptions. You assumed I couldn't possibly own it legally. You assumed I was a threat. You assumed I was lying about my profession. And you escalated a routine traffic stop into a potential deadly encounter based on nothing but your bias." "Sir," Ryan started. "I'm not done." Marcus cut him off. "You never told me why you pulled me over. Was I speeding? Running a light? Swerving? Or did you just not like the way I looked?" Silence. "That's what I thought," Marcus said. He held out his hand. "I'll take my license and registration back now." Ryan handed them over with shaking hands. "Now here's what's going to happen," Marcus said, his voice taking on the tone of command that had earned him respect in Baltimore for 15 years. "Tomorrow morning, both of you are going to report to Internal Affairs. You're going to give a full statement about this stop. Every detail, every word. And then you're going to sit through about 40 hours of bias training before I decide whether you keep your jobs." "Chief Washington, please," Jake began. "Did I give you permission to speak?" Marcus's voice cracked like a whip. Jake shut his mouth immediately. "You want to know what keeps me up at night?" Marcus continued. "It's knowing that officers like you are out here treating people the way you just treated me. And most of those people don't have a badge to protect them. They just have to take it, hope they make it home alive, hope their kids don't end up on the news." He pulled out his phone and started recording. "For the record, it's 9:37 p.m. on Tuesday. I, Chief Marcus Washington, was pulled over by Officers Mitchell and Torres on Riverside Drive without probable cause, subjected to an illegal search, and had a weapon drawn on me when I attempted to identify myself. This is being documented and will be part of the official investigation." He stopped recording and looked directly at Ryan. "You pulled your weapon on your new police chief. Think about that. Really think about what that means." Ryan looked like he might throw up. "Both of you, back in your vehicle and return to the station. File your reports tonight. I'll be reading them first thing tomorrow morning. And if there's a single lie, a single omission, a single attempt to downplay what happened here, you're done. Not suspended. Done. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," they said in unison, their voices barely above whispers. Marcus got back in his Mercedes, started the engine, and drove away, leaving both officers standing on the side of the road looking like their world had just collapsed. Because it had. The next morning, Marcus walked into Richmond Police Headquarters for his first official day as chief. Word had already spread. Everyone knew what happened. The building was silent as he walked through, officers parting like the Red Sea, unable to meet his eyes. Ryan Mitchell and Jake Torres were already in the IA office, looking like they hadn't slept. Their union rep was with them, already trying to work damage control. Marcus didn't go to that meeting. He had something more important to do. He called an all-hands assembly. Every officer in the department, packed into the main briefing room, standing room only. You could hear a pin drop. "Most of you have heard what happened last night," Marcus began, standing at the podium without notes. "Some of you are probably thinking that Officers Mitchell and Torres just had bad luck, that they made an honest mistake, that it could have happened to anyone." He paused, letting that sink in. "But here's the truth. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. A choice to see a black man in an expensive car and assume he was a criminal. A choice to escalate instead of de-escalate. A choice to pull a weapon when there was zero threat. The room remained dead silent. And if you think that kind of policing is acceptable, then you're in the wrong profession. Because I didn't come here to maintain the status quo. I came here to change it. He pulled out a folder and opened it on the podium. Over the past 3 years, this department has received 177 complaints of racial profiling. 47. You want to know how many resulted in discipline? 8. Want to know how many resulted in termination? 0. Some officers shifted uncomfortably. That ends today. We're implementing new protocols. Body cameras will be mandatory and always on. Every traffic stop will be logged with detailed reasoning. Monthly bias training isn't optional anymore. It's required. And any officer who violates these policies won't get a warning. They'll get a pink slip. He closed the folder. I know some of you are thinking I'm only doing this because of what happened to me. You're right. But I'm also doing it for every person who gets pulled over and doesn't have a badge to protect them. Every parent teaching their kids to be terrified of police community that sees us as the enemy instead of public servants. He looked directly at Ryan Mitchell, who was standing in the back, his face red. Officers Mitchell and Torres won't be fired. Not yet. They're going to be my test case. They're going through the new training program first. They're going to ride along with community liaisons. They're going to sit in on town halls and listen to people tell their stories. And if they can't change, if they can't learn, then they don't belong here. Marcus stepped away from the podium. I'm not asking you to like this. I'm not asking for your approval. I'm telling you how it's going to be. And if you can't handle that, there's the door. But if you stay, you're going to be part of something better. You're going to be police officers that the entire community trusts, not just the people who look like you. 6 months later, Richmond's police department looked completely different. Complaints were down 60%. Community trust scores had doubled, and Ryan Mitchell, of all people, had become one of the most vocal advocates for the new training program, speaking at other departments about his experience and what he'd learned. He never forgot that night. Never forgot the sound of Chief Washington's calm voice even with a gun pointed at his back. Never forgot the shame of realizing he'd become exactly the kind of cop he'd sworn he'd never be. As for Marcus, he kept that video from the traffic stop on his phone. Sometimes, late at night when the job got hard and the resistance felt overwhelming, he'd watch it to remind himself why this work mattered. Because change doesn't happen in the headlines. It happens in the traffic stops, in the daily interactions, in the split-second decisions that determine whether someone makes it home safe or becomes another statistic. And now Richmond was finally becoming the city it always should have been. One traffic stop at a time. That's not just justice, that's transformation. And sometimes, that's even better.